The next component to our conference application is going to be the gateway. So if you remember, the gateway is kind of where the front end is going to live, and it's going to be the first thing that our browser request hits. From there, our Zulu server will route us onto the appropriate microservice. So to create our gateway, we're here in our main conference folder. We've already created our registry. We're going to make a new directory called gateway, and I'm going to cd into that gateway. And from here, we're going to create a new JHipster application. And so this is where the different types of applications come into play. So we've been building monolithic applications. Now we're going to build a microservice gateway application for our gateway. So what is the base name of your application? I'm just going to say gateway. So our gateway is going to live on port 8080, because remember, it's the first thing that it hits. And then our microservices will live on something else like 8081, 8082, and so on. So we're going to use our default Java package name of com.jhipcon. Actually, let's back that up. So this is com.jhipcon, so JHip conference. This is showing up just because I put this sample application together before, and blog is something that we're going to actually write as part of the exercise for this section. So do you want to use the JHipster registry to configure, monitor, and scale your microservices and gateways? So I said we're going to say yes here. As I said when we were talking about the architecture of this application, there is something else that you can use called a console. But in this case, we're going to use the JHipster registry, which we've already put into place. So we're going to use JWT authentication. We're going to use SQL, MySQL. Let's go disk-based, Maven. Nothing here. We're using Angular 4. Would you like to use some? Yeah, let's go ahead and use that. No internationalization here. If for any chance you think that there's a possibility you may use this, this is the best time to do it, but I just want to keep it simple, so I'm going to say no. And we'll go ahead and add some testing support, and there are no other generators. So that's really all there is to building the gateway application. From there, we're going to go ahead and run it in a second when this all builds out, and then we would have both our registry and our gateway application running, and then the next piece would be to build out our microservices. Also, as you'll see later in this section, what we'll do is we'll build out our data model for our conference application. And again, when we build out our data model, we need to both import that data model into the microservice itself and the gateway, because again, the gateway holds all of the UI components. So when we build out, say, a way to add new speakers, that needs to be done over here on the gateway as well. So again, you'll see that as we start to go through this section, but I just thought I'd mention it now. All right, so we went ahead and created our gateway application, and at this point we can go ahead and run it. So I'm going to run it. Again, right here it's saying run your Spring Boot application using mbnw. And I also want to mention yarn start. So just as we did in a previous section, running the application as we are right now just runs the Spring Boot application. If we're going to be continually working on this Angular front end in development mode, we'll want to run a separate instance using yarn start, because that puts us into dev mode into the Angular app, so we could start to build out our different components. So with that, we're going to wait till this fires up, and we're just going to go ahead and log in or check out the default gateway application, which should look pretty familiar to us at this point because it is pretty much the same as what happens when we build out our monolithic app. So when this fires up, we'll go ahead and take a look at that. All right, so our gateway application has started up. It does take a little while to start this gateway app up. So if you had a chance, just kind of skim through the logs there, and you can kind of see how this application starts up and all of the different pieces and components that kind of go into making this gateway app run. So down here it says our gateway app is running. We can hit it on localhost 8080. So I'm going to do just that. And again, when this launches, this should look pretty familiar. This kind of looks like the app that we've generated when we do a monolithic application. But this is our gateway app. This is our entry into our entire application. This is where the front end lives. So just like we did before, we can come in and sign in. And when we sign in, we'll get our entities. There are no entities. We'll get our administration. One different thing on here, we'll see a gateway. So it'll basically have current routes. And again, we'll come back and look at this as we start to build out our application. So now that we've built out our registry and our gateway application, now what we need to do is start building out microservices. And the first thing that we're going to do is start with our conference microservice, and we'll do that in the next lesson.